Well, good evening once again, and welcome to the Monday Review Show. This is the show where we discuss all things referees and refereeing, be they yellow cards, red cards given or not given, and all that sort of thing. And we also answer your questions if you'd like to ask a question or you'd like to know something or you'd like to make a comment, please do so. There is a little area there on the bottom right-hand side of your screen where you can make those comments. I'm joined once again by my now very good friend from Sheffield in England, former Premier League referee, former FIFA referee, former head of the PGMOL. For those of you who don't know what PGMOL stands for, it stands for the Professional Games Match Officials Limited, and they're the guys who look after the referees and the assistant referees and all match officials, in fact, in the Premier League and in the Championship. And he's also the man responsible for introducing goal line technology, which has been a huge success in the game today. Keith Hackett, thank you very much for joining me again.
Good evening. Delighted to be on the show.
Had a good Christmas, Keith.
Delighted to be on the show.
Thank you very much. Quite a list of things to be discussing and we're going to talk about. And by the way, I have changed the promo for the show. It'll no longer be called the Monday Review Show. It will now be called The Ref's Opinion. And I'll explain more about that at the end of the show. So it's a new promo, generally the same, but just a new promo for the show, which will start next week. But the actual format, the way Keith and I discuss things, will remain the same. Couple of things, well, it's quite a list of things, Keith, and I did promise all my South African viewers, and there was absolute pandemonium and hell to pay in South Africa among the fans who couldn't understand the decisions by the referee in the Egypt-South Africa game, where a penalty was given to Egypt by a hand in the face on Mo Salah, and the penalty was given, and another one where should have been given, they say, to South Africa, where an Egyptian player was on the ground, the ball came in, he was leaning down, propping himself up effectively, and the ball hit his hand, and South Africa wanted a penalty. Did you happen to see the game, Keith?
I didn't see the game. I saw the photograph appertaining to the one where the player's hand was in contact with the ground. And, you know, the thing about this is that body is in a natural position. Obviously, if the arm is in contact with the ground, he's not going to make deliberate movement to the ball. He's effectively in a natural position because his arm is supporting his body in a lateral position. So the referee, I think, on that occasion, was correct in his decision not to award a penalty kick because it didn't fulfill the requirements of the law by the very nature of the fact that the hand was in contact with the ground. There was therefore no movement of the hand towards the ball, and the body shape was natural because he was preventing a fall. So, these are incidents that we're discussing almost on a weekly basis around the game of football and the handball law. I think that most of us, former referees, are question the fact that I think the handball law needs change. It needs clarification. There's too much subjectivity in it. We've had instances this week where claimed for a penalty kick, and when you actually do see the VAR replay, the ball has struck the chest first before it strikes the hand, arm, and in that situation, my immediate view was I couldn't see the ball striking the chest at all, and I've gone, that's a penalty. But then when I see the replays, the VAR rightly came in, and it wasn't a handball offence. So,
in the Egypt game, the first penalty that was, in my opinion, correctly awarded to Egypt was I can't remember the player's name, but the South African player was going away with the ball out of the penalty area. This happened inside the penalty area.
Yes.
And he stuck out his left arm. He caught Salah there in the eye, and Salah went down. Now, he may have stuck his finger in his eye, but the principle that I was using, and for all my South African viewers out there, if that had happened in the center of the field, a free kick would have been given. Not an indirect free kick, because indirect free kicks can only be given for offside, dangerous play, obstruction, things like that. Everything else is a direct free kick. And this was a direct free kick incident. And it happened inside the penalty area. So therefore, if it happens outside the penalty area, it's a direct free kick. If it happens inside the penalty area, it's a penalty kick. It's as simple as that. And people are disagreeing. Oh, no, it was nothing. And he did. That's beside the point. In the opinion of the referee, and that's what Law 5 tells us, in the opinion of the referee, it was a penalty kick. And I agree with it, 100%. It's a pity you didn't see the game, Keith, but I just wanted to clarify this. And I promised all South African people who look at the show that I would highlight it and explain it fully. On the second one, if you'll just indulge me, Keith, please. You're right what you said. The player had his arm down on the ground. He was using his arm to prop himself up. Now, the law on handball states that it's the movement of the hand or the arm towards the ball, not the ball towards the arm. And in this instance, the ball came towards the hand. But on the other hand, his second point was he was using his hand to prop himself up and not in an attempt to play the ball. So therefore, South Africa were correctly not awarded a penalty kick. But I see lots of comments that the cheats and referees are bad, and FIFA and UEFA and CAF, in this instance, the Confederation of African Football, need to check on the referees. Nonsense, nonsense, nonsense. The referee was 100%, and I actually thought he was very good and very calm, under a lot of pressure, players crowding around him, but he remained calm and stuck to his decisions. So for you guys out there watching, I hope that will clarify that. I don't want to get Keith too much involved because it's not fair. He didn't see the game. So let's move on, Keith.
I think one point I would add is that we must recognise that the game of football is a sport where the majority of players, other than the goalkeeper, are playing with their feet. That's why it's called football. In 1857, when it started here in England, in Sheffield, where I live, where a player places his hands on the neck and upwards face, then he's clearly at risk of receiving a red card. And I think that players, think that there's got to be force. There hasn't. Don't put your hands in the face of an opponent. Otherwise, you're going to be penalised.
Yeah. I hope that's solved that issue for you now. If you'd like to make some comments, please do. There is a little space there where you can make comments, and I will get around to answering them. Keith, and you, that's the first time I've seen it. My goodness. Referees are being asked now to do so many things and carry so many gadgets on their body. They'll be way down. They won't be able to run. I'm talking about the Aston Villa Man United game, which was handled by probably the top referee in England, along with Anthony Taylor, Michael Oliver. And he has this camera over his left ear. I mean, my goodness, is it not? It could put it on his chest. Surely that must hinder him if he's trying to turn sideways. Is there a danger of it falling off? Is it really necessary to have VAR? What's the point?
Well, I worry about the amount of equipment the referee is expected to carry. Let us just run through them. He has a buzzer flag, so when the assistant flags, It vibrates on his arm. He's carrying the communication kit. So somewhere in his belt, he's got a transmitter and the earpieces, and that allows him to communicate with his colleagues, something that I introduced. But now, of course, he's also in communication with, in England at Stockley Park, the base of the VAR operators. In addition to that, obviously, he's carrying his watch. The ref watch signals whether the ball has crossed the line or not. We look at aspects of this camera that looked obtrusive. I mean, I watched a similar camera being used in rugby league a couple of years ago, and I went, crikey, I would not be happy wearing that piece of equipment.
No, right.
And I just think that the referees, in addition to all the things I've mentioned, he's probably got a vest that's transmitting a signal back to base in terms of his heart rate, movement, positioning, all those sort of things. With the camera, I noticed he had a transmitter on his collar. I just, and then we look at what was the outcome, what actually was the outcome. This is more for the media.
Yeah.
Now, listen, I'm very pro the body cameras that have been experimented here in England on grassroots football, which have been usually successful in terms of prevention, a deterrent in grassroots football, where there's, sometimes there's no assistant referees and there's one man and a dog and a load of, if you like, parents who want to abuse the referee. And in that situation, I'm for that. But in this case, no, unless you can make it a micro camera, not this thing that looked like a torch, the side of his head.
Exactly what it looked like.
Hey, it looked a nonsense.
Yeah. Yeah. I see Brandon has just brought up Brandon Will, who's a regular contributor to the show. And he's just brought up what I was going to also mention. Why isn't that going on? It's not going on for some reason. Oh, there, maybe. The ref also has the spray.
I tell you,
well spotted, Brandon. Excellent, thank you.
The one thing I've communicated with Brandon for a number of years, his knowledge of the laws of the game, and his knowledge of the game is simply outstanding. Absolutely. And sometimes he'll drop me a note, probably less frequently now than he used to. Drop me a note to correct me in certain terminology or an opinion that I may have. So great that Brandon is watching the show and communicating with us.
Yeah, and he's a regular contributor. And thank you, Brandon. Let's move on, Keith. Newcastle and Chelsea, Garnacho shown a yellow card when it should have been red.
I think that I was going to talk about Nottingham Forest, and if the list I've made out, if rather than the Chelsea Aston Villa game, because frankly I didn't see it. But on the Nottingham Forest game, Guardiola of Manchester City, having already received a yellow card for dissent, certainly should have received a second yellow for his trip on a Forest player. And then in the same phase, he started showing an imaginary yellow card.
Yeah.
Which should have seen a second yellow and red card. Now, the reason I'm bringing this up first, if you like, and perhaps stepping out of the Chelsea game at the moment, is because Sean Dyche, a well-known manager, not normal for him to criticise referees. In fairness, was very critical of the referee's performance, Rob Jones here. On one of the incidents, he thought that his player had been hauled to the ground. Morgan Gibbs White, I think they call the player. But when you actually see the replays, which probably wasn't afforded to him at the time. It's his player, the Nottingham Forest player, who has effectively grabbed his opponent by the arm and actually brought the player to the ground. So, the public criticism of the referee is something that is unusual for Dyche. I suggest that he might well be charged for those comments, which were very negative against the referee. But this afternoon, Nottingham Forest have written to the PGMOL seeking clarification about the referee's performance. Well, I've been in that position. If I was Howard Webb, I'd get in the car. It's not very far away. He lives close to Sheffield. And I'd go and see Sean Dyche and have a conversation. I would tell him very clearly that his player that he refers to was the instigator of the offence initially. But I would also have to admit that the referee failed to send off the Manchester City player for a second yellow card offence. So interesting.
For the simulation.
The simulation or the second yellow foul that he committed.
Yeah.
It was, by the way, that particular foul stopped a promising attack.
Yeah. You're watching the Monday Review Show from this week. It'll no longer be known as the Monday Review Show. It'll now be renamed The Ref's Opinion, which I think is a more suitable and apt title for the show, because it is the ref's opinion that we're talking about. And Law 5 clearly does state it, that all decisions taken are in the opinion of the referee. So it's going to be called the ref's opinion. Everything else will stay the same. We'll still be here on Monday at 8 o'clock, but we'll talk a little bit more about that now. Keith, the Tottenham Hotspur Liverpool game, the second Liverpool game, clearly a push in the back by Ekitike before he scored.
Yes, I mean, when we look at that, the argument that they put forward was that there wasn't sufficient, if you like, pressure, or a push, if you like, was light. The touch was light, but in my opinion, it was a push. And yes, I think this one, we need to clarify, was it careless? That, in Law 12, push is a free kick, but you have to then determine, is it careless? Is it reckless? Is it excessive force? For me, that push was sufficient to actually disallow the goal. And I think it was an interesting call. Again, these incidents in and around the penalty area are getting to a point where it's just laughable.
Oh my goodness!
I listened to a former player actually use the word grappling, which I have used since I was the boss of the PGMOL. His idea. I smiled because what he said on television this morning in a program called Ref Watch was that why do referees go in and talk to the players? They're already aware.
Oh my goodness.
They're already aware that if you hold an opponent, either way, it's either a penalty kick or a free kick. And I smiled because here is a player that knows the game, understands it, pretty vociferous in his views. And he's actually saying, look, referees, don't go in and speak to the players. Just where appropriate, award a penalty kick or a free kick.
Yeah.
Penalise the offence, because what you're doing is a complete waste of time.
I've been saying that for ages, and it is a complete waste of time because it's almost as if the players expect it. The referee steps back. He tells them none of that. He steps back and they do it all over again. What is the point? And honestly, Keith, I do believe that if a free kick to the defence or a penalty kick to the attacker was awarded every single time, that would stop. Similar to the goalkeepers now releasing the ball after 8 seconds, etc., etc.
Yeah.
All those things, they've now gotten used to it.
Yes.
And another little bone of contention, will throw it in, stealing yards at a throw in. Oh my God. And the amount, I'm just throwing in another one, the amount of foul throws is just unbelievable. Keith, what about the one where you mentioned it here again? It was Liverpool and Spurs. Richarlison chases the ball into the net. He placed his right hand on the neck of his opponent while rising off the ground. Where was the referee, and why wasn't he watching? That could have escalated into an all-out brawl.
Yes, I think there's no question that may well have created a problem. You know, one of the things that I'm seeing with modern referees, not everybody, is they're reactive in their officiating style rather than being proactive.
Yeah.
You know, for me, a referee who is proactive, one that understands where the boiling point is on a game and you don't want to reach it when it starts steaming. And I think there are small incidents like this where the referee's got to intervene. And then I worry about, you know, we had Arsenal-Brighton this weekend. I'm sure a fair number of people saw it, where the Brighton goalkeeper, Verbruggen, ran outside his penalty area towards his opponent's touchline and completely wiped out an opponent. Completely wiped out. And for me, you know, we should say that a tackle that endangers the safety of an opponent and uses excessive force with a degree of brutality, and I see nothing other than that in this challenge. And I've heard arguments that this was a yellow card. The yellow card was not sufficient sanction for me. He'd run out of the penalty area some distance diagonally towards this player who was in possession of the ball and wiped him out with a reckless challenge that had excessive force that clearly endangered the safety of an opponent. And if we're going to say that's a yellow card in a modern game, I think we've got a problem.
Yeah, I just see another comment here from Andrew Haddad. Andrew Horde. He says, doing the warnings for holding at corner kick restarts has proven its valuelessness. I rather just see the penalty kick or direct free kick given. When the players play stupid games, they win stupid prizes. Okay, Andrew. Okay, but it's exactly, Andrew, what we're talking about.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's exactly
I mean,
I was just talking about now.
I think sometimes we look at things, and in a sense, referees can be their own worst enemy. You know, somebody at some stage, maybe, I don't know, Kalina said this is the way to deal with this particular problem, and it's suddenly become the style. Just penalise the offences. The warnings are not a waste of time. You know, this weekend in Scotland, we had in the Motherwell game at Ibrox, wonderful stadium up in Scotland, we had fans with these flares, red flares, probably a couple of dozen of them. The question I would ask the Scottish authorities and Rangers as a football club is, how did these Motherwell fans get into the ground? How did they bring flares in, which in my opinion are dangerous to other spectators? And on that particular point,
and probably inhaling and all this stuff as well.
Yeah, and then, well, and I mean, the other point was that in the Hibernian Hearts game, before the start, they had all these pyrotechnics as the players come out. And for 5 minutes, you were in fog. And you go, what is that about? So for me, I think that the Scottish FA, it doesn't happen too much in England, but there are occasions when in the Premier League they use pyrotechnics, these flares. Stop it now. Set an example. Scottish FA, don't use pyrotechnics, and then stop the fans bringing it.
Indeed, and if you're an eco warrior, what about all the pollution is putting in and the ozone layer, etc., etc., etc.? Oh my God. Okay. I'm still laughing at Andrew's comment there. Well done, Andrew. Andre. Yeah. Leeds United, we're looking for a penalty. Correct decision by Thomas Bramall. So, and I don't want to sound like we criticize referees. Absolutely not. We do not. But sometimes you cannot defend the indefensible. But here, a compliment to Thomas Bramall. He was in a good position to say no.
Yeah. I mean, there's no question that this is a referee that's taken a few months to get the foundation of his game together, and he's not had a run of games. He's now getting a run of games, and I think his performances are improving. There was another interestingly, because it's been a busy Christmas since we last talked.
Indeed.
In the Sunderland Leeds game, Rodon, who was not sanctioned on the first offence that he committed, which was a reckless challenge. He didn't receive a yellow card. Tony Harrington was the referee, and in that later on in that first half, he was not punished again. And I feel that he was very fortunate to have stayed on the pitch. I think when we see referees like this that are not getting that run of games, it's very difficult in the Premier League level in England. It's a tough assignment, and you want regular appointments to be able to be mentally attuned to games and physically attuned to the speed of decisions that you've got to make.
I was delighted to see who was it? The referee in the where Romero was shown a second yellow card. He had been in the referee's face for quite a while, and I wondered would John Brooks, I think it was, would he have the backbone to do what absolutely needed to be done? No question about it. This guy was asking for a red card, clearly, and John Brooks, in fairness to him, did everything to avoid it, but in the end had no choice. And I was so happy to see that he had the guts to issue the red card. Do you remember that game?
I do, I'm probably not the biggest fan of John Brooks as a referee because I think he tends to be a reactive referee rather than proactive. But in fairness to him, this was I don't think he could avoid giving the red card because the player was completely in his face, lost it in terms of self-control.
Yeah.
And probably his Christmas holiday has started early. But, I think this week we've seen some good performances. I thought Liverpool Wolves, Simon Hooper refereed really well, kept the game flowing, made some really good decisions. Chris Kavanagh had the West Ham Fulham game, which was a tight game. West Ham are struggling as a club at the moment, but he kept good control of it, played advantage where it was appropriate, and well done to him. So, again, we make these comments not to criticize referees, but to actually highlight
absolutely
the difficulty that referees have at the elite level, because there are that many cameras at games, 22 minimum broadcast cameras. Then we're looking at 48 cameras being used for semi-automated offside system, and we're looking at a further 14 cameras for the goal line technology. So you see how The referees, the balance, if you like, of the referee has to be VAR when eventually, hopefully the Premier League, after 6 years, might be making some progress to actually getting the operation right. At the moment, we're well behind, in my opinion, in delivery of VAR competence compared to what we see in Europe.
And as if the referees hadn't got enough problems, they load them down now with cameras around their ears and things on the back. Oh my goodness!
And the laws, Errol. I mean, there's a lot of subjectivity, isn't there, around the handball law? It's such a simple law, or could be such a simple law.
They just complicate.
Literally go to one line and say it's deliberate, and the referee makes that judgment. You might get in the first few weeks some inconsistency, but I think being too prescriptive with handball has in fact complicated it, brought subjectivity to the fore. Not 99 out of 100 referees agreeing on one particular decision.
Yeah.
We get 60-40 or 40, if you like, the disagreement between referees at the highest level in terms of particular incidents, and I think that's it. I'd just like the IFAB to have a look at the handball law and try to reduce its content and simplification and bring the power back to the referee.
Once again, my goodness, the time has absolutely flown by, as it always does, because we really do talk about so many interesting things. But Keith, thank you very much again.
Pleasure.
And very, very happy New Year to you. And a very happy New Year to all of you people out there for your comments, for your contributions, and for tuning in week after week after week. And we will continue again next Monday. It will be the very same show, just under a different promo. It will be called, instead of the Monday Review Show, but it'll still be on a Monday, we will be calling it In the Ref's Opinion, the Ref's Opinion, because that's really what it is. And I think that's more suitable. So until then, till next Monday, thank you very much, Keith. Thank you, all of you, and a very, very happy and peaceful New Year to you all out there. Thank you.
Thank you.